Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Dr. Alex Herzog of the Lyndon Institute in Lyndon. Welcome to the show, Dr. Herzog.
God, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate being able to get on here and get an opportunity to chat with you. You've got a great history and a great broadcasting capability. I can't wait to tell you all about what we do here at LI.
Yeah, it's about time. We've never had you folks on before, and just before the show, I was even learning bits and pieces about the institute that I didn't know. So, all right, first let's start off by saying, who are you, and what does your position entail?
Sure. As you said, Dr. Alex Herzog, I have a background in education. I've worked in higher ed for a number of years, working my way up the chain. Love community colleges because they're focused on being focused on regional communities and economic development for regions. And when the economy is good, enrollment goes down in community colleges. And so the turnover in positions and the focus on enrollment's gotten tougher and tougher. It's kind of that balance. So I found an opportunity. I was living in Claremont, New Hampshire, and the position came open for a director of career and technical education at the school district there. I was there for 6 years, and we had like 5 or 6 different programs. Started a few new ones, proposed a few other ones. This is what CTE, career technical education, is what kept kids in school there. Like they came in to school because they had an opportunity to work in a lab. We had building construction, plumbing, advanced manufacturing. We started a medical assistant program. We had culinary. Culinary was very popular because kids got to eat all the time. That's what they liked. But they learned how to cook. And a lot of times, career technical education gets a little bit poo-pooed by parents because they're, I want my kid to go to college. These are not just skills for you to get a job after. These are skills that you can use for life. And we encourage everybody, if you can go to college and have an employer pay for your college path, say it takes 6 years to get your BA if that's what you want, but you worked during that whole time, the opportunity cost is amazing. It's such an advantage for young people too.
Don't you think that the attitude is changing towards technical education though? Because like to be realistic, you take a good plumber, a good electrician, good carpenter, they make far more money than some people with a more traditional college education.
Absolutely. The pendulum's shifting the other way, right? There was a big push. Kids learn how to code. Well, now AI is coming in and doing the coding for us. So that kind of job might disappear. One of the things that AI has changed a lot of what we take a look at for the future, and that's something we take a look at is how, but AI still can't weld yet. AI can't fix a plumbing problem.
Right.
And we know we need more folks in the trade. If you ever try to call for a plumber, it's, could be 2 to 3 days out before you get one. And so, or longer for some places. So there is a graying in the trades, and it's a big focus right now to get more kids. And it's about skills. If you go to our welding program, for instance, and you come through it's a 2-year program. Students do it their junior and senior year. They do it for 2 hours in the morning, both years. And when they come out, they get a bunch of certifications. They don't necessarily have to go to work in welding right away. But man, if they went back to the farm to help their parents run that, they could fix anything. And those are life skills that they could add to it. But they could also go out and earn an income doing welding. While for a company, we have Weidman in town that would hire them, other big companies, aerospace, getting that experience. And those places will pay for your college education if you want to pursue it. So there's that balance you got to find.
With my children, two of them are 40. Well, my biological children, two of them are 40, and one's 34. And when they were in school up here in the northern part of the kingdom, even though they were on the college track, we had to really fight to get them to be allowed to take technical classes at the same time. and that's changed. That's changed
Yes,
now.
sir.
It's changed, and the thing is, one of them was so they took everything from their college classes to prepare them for academic college, and they also took, whether it be computers or like the two who went into the safety field. They wrap their whole education now around their academic knowledge, but also what they learned. And like one of them now is a safety person in a quite renowned nuclear research facility. And I don't believe, well, I can't say it wouldn't happen, but I think their well-rounded education made all of them ready for a much more ready for the work world than just the traditional college route.
Absolutely, Scott. Adaptability, versatility, those are the keys to being successful, right? And a well-rounded, like you said, education not only gives us critical thinking skills to solve problems, but also the ability to work with our hands and fix things as we go along. We have steered away from being a fixing society. We just buy something new because they can make it so cheap now. But I don't know how to fix an iPhone, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. That technology is so advanced. I think I would have to bring it. Even cars now, taking that, changing a tire, perhaps, changing the oil, but anything more than that, you've got to take it to a shop. It's got to have to be realigned with the electronic system and all that. So,
My brother has been a mechanic for almost 40 years, and he will even jokingly say, back when he began, it was like, well, you can't really, you're not equipped to do anything, so become a mechanic. Well, things have sure changed. Uh,
yes,
he, he he started in the mechanic world when everything was largely, it was pretty. I won't say simple, but now you have to know electronics. But also you got some benefits now to kind of figure out what's wrong. You can also plug a computer in. Uh,
sure.
so so while things are more complex, in some ways are also easier. But
Yes, and that's technology moving forward, and I love embracing technology and learning new things. Things come up all the time, and we just need to be adaptable and versatile to learn it. And that's why I think, although many people are worried about AI, I think there's good things that can become of it, and we just need to learn how to manage it and learn how to use it better. My teachers are looking at it to come up with new ideas, new programs, use it for brainstorming for specific fields, so the kids can get more experiences and have some more challenges so they can get better at what they're studying.
yeah, the only thing I have with AI that is because I've even started. I have a friend who uses AI to help clean up my photos. Now these
Mhm.
old faded photos,
Yeah.
he can pull the color out of them. And but the thing is I when I work, I like to watch or listen to YouTube videos on history, and now there's so many uh, AI generated YouTube
Yeah.
shows that
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not totally trusting of them either, so I kind of steer clear.
Yeah,
So
I think there's a lot to learn and things that need to be set up about the ethics on all that. And, I know the whole movie industry is looking at how AI can be used and abused to that fact so that actors aren't getting paid or their likeness is being taken away from them. So there's a lot of things that have to come about. But any new technology that arises, when the car was invented, I'm sure people complained about that compared to horses. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. I haven't been able to find it, but I read a letter to the editor in a paper back when horse and buggies started having to share the road with these motor vehicles, and
yeah, yeah. See?
it was more or less it was saying that these are just fads, these automobiles,
Right,
and
right.
they're going to go away, and we're going to be back to the trusty horses. So, hey, tell me, do you know a bit of the history of Lyndon Institute? About what it? about when it was founded
Yeah,
and
it's 160 years old. We've served the Northeast Kingdom as both a town academy and a career technical education center. So we've been doing this a long time as an independent institution. We have a diverse body of 430 students currently. I am right next to, I'm on the Vale part, the Vale campus, next
right.
to the Vale Barn, which was is the one of the original buildings, and that's been kind of turned over into classrooms. Our land resource management's in there. We have botany in there. We're hoping that we can get some funding down the road where we can turn that into more of a workforce development piece for our community. But yeah, so no, LI's been around a long time, and we're hoping that it sticks around.
Now, do you have are your students all local, or do you also have outsiders who go
So
there?
we serve the surrounding counties around us. Students can choose to come here for career and technical education, or just general. They can come to LI to study to get their high school diploma. Both St. J, which is down St. Johnsbury, just down the road, and LI are two independent institutions in this area. And so we recruit from all over the place. We actually bring international students in too. I think we have about 20 to 25 international students
Okay.
on campus right now.
That adds a lot to international students do.
It's a great education. You're a world traveler too, Scott. And when you can get outside of your own areas and break down your comfort zones, you learn so much about others.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a whole another level of educating.
Right. Hey, one thing my father used to talk about Li. He was a runner back in his day, as was I, and as were my boys. But he said Lyndon Institute had there was something about the track that no other there was no other school like it, that you actually had to run track by going up and down hill because it was just it was he said it was hilly. The old track you're talking about, he'd be about 90 now, and
Sure, sure.
he said most tracks were pretty flat. he
Mhm.
says he said Li had some lumps in it, and we went up and down.
Maybe
uh,
that was a strategy LI had at the time so they'd win meets.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, we have a nice track on campus here. We've got a lot of really great opportunities for students to explore. We offer a bunch in eighth. We're looking, for eighth graders to come in, and then of course transfer students for high school kids that are at another school, but they want to get a little bit more out of their education. LI, it does a lot for students. I mean, to a point where I feel like, man, what else could we possibly do that students would get us something out? We have clubs and activities, and we are everything to everyone, whoever needs, and even students with special needs. We really work hard to help accommodate them and be successful. But it's also on the student. That's a challenge sometimes, where we get students that aren't motivated, that they're frustrated for coming into high school. They don't want to come to high school. So we try in our career technical education is to get them hands-on learning as soon as possible so that they're out there doing stuff with their hands and then they're connected. So we call it applied learning. They learn it a little bit in the classroom and then they take it out to the lab and they learn how to do it. Um, so all of our classes have some sort of classroom structure that we kind of have to do just to get the information, and then we put them in the labs and let them learn and experience those trades.
Right. And we were talking before, there's even a military component to
Yes.
it. You
Yeah, so one of the things I'm prior military myself. Quickly, I started. My dad was in the reserves, and he was the one of the plumbing instructors. And so my household, we talked. We were very handy growing up. We fixed almost everything ourselves in the house. My dad was very handy. He was a master electrician, but he also went and got his bachelor's degree later and was an accountant. So he raised us right. We changed the oil on our car back then. We fixed things in the house. When things broke, we fixed them. So he was encouraging me to look at the military as an option, the reserves, and I went in, was an interior electrician. I got my training there, Fort Leonard, Missouri. Then in the unit, I learned about plumbing. I learned the building construction part components. And remember, these are all have to be on civilian code. So whatever you learn there, you can apply for later. So I could get jobs pretty easily with contractors we knew. My dad would, say, hey, they called today. They need somebody to run wire at this new thing. So I paid for my college by the skills I learned in the Army. And I truly believe the military is a cheat code for life. If you take advantage of all the materials and all the education they can do in the military for you, that can really set you up for success later.
Right.
Um, I was even a drill sergeant. My unit was a drill sergeant unit. So I was in college at the time. We did that training. So I got to push troops for a little bit. And then I got a commission upon, I was in ROTC and got a commission. I also went back into the engineer corps. So I got some training as a nice brand new second lieutenant with a drill sergeant badge. So I had a lot of great respect from enlisted people.
Well, the way we met was in a roundabout way, a 1960, through a 1967 grad, uh, Craig Burchard.
Mhm.
He's writing a two-part article about the Lyndon ski team that he used to jump down at down at the ski area down there, and so that's how my his article ended up causing us to connect. And
Oh, great.
that's how come you ended up being here. And the thing is, I was telling you beforehand, Craig would make a great contact from a military level
Right. Yeah.
because he in 1971, courtesy of the United States government, got to join the military. Not necessarily because that's what he wanted to do, but because of the draft. And he went in as a private after being at Lyndon Institute. And he is now happily retired as a colonel. He lives in Germany with his wife. And so there's a little military ski connection to your institute.
I look at LI as a whole, and we call it LI, Lyndon Institute. The education you get here is a solid, like you and I said, a whole well-rounded individual. And I think that's the purpose here, the academic side, with the opportunities for students to get that career technical education, some trade skills that they could use, as they go on. My kid said to me, I want to be an English major. My daughter really liked theater. She said, I want to go in the theater. I said, yes, you can go to college for theater, but you will do a double major. You have to find something else that you can do because I want you to have the skill set to be successful once you graduate. So, I mean, for something like that. So pursue those wonderful careers that you want. If you like English literature, you want to be a writer, that's great. But until you get there, until you get a job where you can do that full time, or you want to do that on your own, you're going to need to have some life skills and some other job kind of skills that you can do in the meantime. So take welding. You can be a great artist with welding. The artists that know how to weld are one of the most prolific artists around. They make tons of money selling their art. And but there's so many available jobs for them to get where they can get good benefits and healthcare and make some really great money.
All right, you have about 10 more minutes left. What more would you like to share with the listeners and the viewers?
Scott, one of the things that the Northeast Kingdom is really looking for are some more folks that can do good things. When I talk to employers in the area, they're looking for students to have soft skills. Basically, they want to hire character, but that character includes they got to come to work 5 days a week on time, come in. I even heard hygiene is an issue. Things like that make it real difficult. So not only do we want to give you the skills to get a job, but the skills to keep a job. And we're seeing this generation is struggling with those pieces. Put your phone away. Big thing right now in schools in Vermont has outlawed cell phones being allowed in schools starting next year. I'm on the fence on that because I think the cell phone is a great tool. I think it has some really great capabilities, but we really haven't taught young people how to use them. We just give them the device, right? And there's no real instruction on what's appropriate use, the ethics. Maybe all that stuff comes from your family upbringing. So for me, I would not just give a young person a gun without teaching them the safety, the capabilities of that gun, and then having that experience with them side by side. That telephone is not a gun, but boy, it takes away from their time. And there's a lot of data and research to indicate that it's not good for young people right now. to be focused on all that technology, that they really need to be getting back to the basics. And as we talked about with AI, a lot of colleges and teachers are getting away from allowing you to type up your papers or your tests. They're going back to handbooks where you're going to do the blue book and have to write the answers out yourself. That's another one I heard from an employer. Not only communication, but they need to learn, they need to know how to write. Their handwriting is horrible. It's not legible. And that used to be only for doctors, and now it's everybody. So there you go.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm a writer, but oh, I have poor handwriting. I mean,
I do too.
I, and, but even adults, so including, even myself to a degree, we have, right here,
Yeah,
there's my
right.
phone. It isn't only young people, it's really everybody now. Like, I see people, you even see videos now of people walking through, through a mall or something and tripping and falling in
Yeah, sure,
the
sure.
water, because we've become like, I would love to say I'm totally innocent, but I'm not. I love the technology. I love, what I can do with the technology, the research, but I'm a little guilty. I don't quite go into convulsions if I don't bring my cell phone with me. But
But I like it for emergency purposes. I think there's some great things for that. In my mind, I was a scoutmaster and I teach my scouts, be prepared, right? We talked about that a lot. And I have that computer in my pocket that I can get information anytime I want and use it. And it has real potential to be used for good, but it
oh
also
yeah,
has a downside to it as well.
oh absolutely.
So Scott,
So
I wanted to let you know that the programs that we have here, because I didn't get a chance to go over those, but we've got automatic. Right now, we're looking at trying to get young people to sign up for our programs that go to LI. Other schools can send their students. So if you're going to St. J and you wanted to take one of our programs, we provide transportation. You can come and take the courses here for our things, but for our CTE. But we have automotive technology, allied health science, which is our LNA course, which we've had 100% pass rate the past 3 years of students taking the LNA test. Sustainable agriculture is a courses. We teach some intro courses in that. We have land resource management. We've redesigned our graphic design program to be more encompassing, to include things like video podcasting and regular podcasting, radio interviews. We have an outdoor recreation program that we've kind of put on pause because we're trying to find some real people or some new people that can look at doing a bike tech program for us, and engaging more students and growing that. We have welding, which is usually popular, early childhood education, and then finally, the big one that we need to push more on is advanced manufacturing. We have some big companies here that need more people in that role. And I know that the team here, the leadership team, is looking at ways to grow that. We also have a robust adult education program that teaches the LNA course for adults that want to change their course pattern. There's funding for that. We can help guide, and we've got a class coming up in the spring and possibly in the next one, maybe summer, but likely fall. So we do offer a lot of really cool things at LI, not just for students, but for adults in general too that want to improve their skills.
hey, I'll put a plug in for your CNA and did you say LPN?
It's LNA, licensed nurse
Okay. Oh,
assistant. I'm sorry.
my
The
my
LNA, licensed nurse assistant.
my wife has been she's an RN, but
Yeah.
she's been amazed. She's from Southeast Asia and she's worked in the Middle East most of her nursing career, but she has been totally amazed in the United States how many people may have begun their lives. No disrespect to waitresses, they might have been a waitress. Another person might have been a English teacher, and they change courses, and some of them will start out as CNAs
Hmm.
and they'll work their way right up to RNs, and that's an almost there's an almost inexhaustible need for nurses and nurses
Absolutely.
aides.
We with technology, people are living longer lives, right? We haven't been able to beat all the diseases out there yet, but as we get older, we're going to need more medical care and we need more medical practitioners, right? LNA start that. Our program is really strong, and I really believe the students that take our program get so much information that they'll become, that gives them a really good planting of seeds to become RNs down the road. They have the knowledge and skill, and the local hospital loves our students. They just have a well-rounded education beyond just what the requirements of an LNA is. An RN has to deal with a whole bunch of stuff, and having that good customer relation skills, being good with the patients, all that all gets encompassed into our programs. So when our students graduate, they are highly coveted.
Your end of the county is really blessed with a great hospital, NBRH.
Yes.
When my previous wife, who passed of cancer, we used to end up down there periodically, and it wasn't only the level of care; it was as you mentioned before, people skills,
Hmm.
and
Right.
because you can be really good at your work, but if you're lacking people skills, it doesn't mean you can't do a good job, but it sure helps to have people skills.
One of my experiences, Scott, was at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, one of the best hospitals in the country. And they hired the best doctors they could get. I mean, scientists beyond, but they did not have their biggest complaint was patient. The patients would complain the doctors didn't care about them
Right.
because they were all science minded. So they tried to teach the doctors to be more human like, and they couldn't do it. They threw that idea away after trying, but they went to the nurses, and the nurses are the ones that made that human connection. They had that capability, to show that they cared for the patient and let the doctors be the scientists to figure out how to solve the problems with that disease.
Well, near as we now wrap up, is it? Do you like hearing success stories of people who leave LI, whether it's on the college track or the tech track? Do you like to see what people do with their lives?
Absolutely. I think it's amazing to see. And usually you don't hear, teachers don't hear from a student immediately. They had a good year, they learned a lot. It's usually 10 years later when they come back and go, "Hey, is that so and so teacher around?" And we'll be like, yes or no. Boy, I learned so much from that person. Scott, you probably had a mentor or a teacher in your life that you think back, go, man, I don't know if I've said thank you enough to that person because I'm who I am today because of what I learned there. And sometimes that comes later in life, but it's always a good feeling when that comes around. So I always check in with students and I'm like, so what are you doing now? What are you working on? How's this going for you? Just making that connection. We talked about sports earlier. Sports is a great way for kids to get additional skills, working with a team. But I think it's not the baseline. I think the baseline for me is your basic academics, reading and writing and arithmetic. The opportunities for careers with CTE is the next thing we want them to have. And sports is a nice add-on. I think it gives them pride in their school.
Yeah, I personally like running into my old teachers. Unfortunately, now that I'm 60, sometimes the next thing I hear from them is in the obituary, and that's
No, that's sad.
unfortunate. But I've said, some of my most influential teachers weren't high school teachers for some reason, but elementary school teachers who,
Mhm.
and particularly the ones who you could always tell the teachers who had their favorites, and a lot of times they were on the uh, well-off families, and so I remember the best the ones who treated the kids, no matter their economic class, just as good as one another. And
Yeah.
I've commented, even back then I was very intuitive of people, and I've thanked more than one elementary school teacher for being like that, because even at that age, I even back then I think it was a little easier to be poor back then because kind of everybody was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so yeah, I've really thanked quite a few teachers.
So Scott, I got to give quite a quick shout out to my wife, Sean. She's a teacher. She teaches in Title One and takes the kids out that are not achieving at the grade level. Takes them out of the classroom, works with them in groups, and has an amazing track record of making them super successful. But it takes a special person with that heart that wants to speak for that kid and work with that kid. And they could be difficult and have a really rough time at home. And she tells me all about these bad situations to these kids, and but she makes a difference, and they walk out. Even they can earn a book if they reach this level. Things like that. Creative teachers out there that really make an impact, and those are the things. Those are the lessons we get that we grow up with, and we have those lessons for life.
Right. Okay, well, we've got to wrap up, but whenever you want to come back on, it would be great. And as I think Todd could probably hit you up with your own show with how flawless you are.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
So, okay, well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for all the good work you are
Thanks for having
doing.
me in. I appreciate you. We're at LI. We're here to serve folks, our young people, to get them a good education, career technical education. I'm a big supporter of it. I think we need it in the future. And let's get these kids jobs, right?
Absolutely. Well,
All right.
thank you for coming on the show. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.